The perfect piano form. Get your notes out, let's get into it. Hi, it's Brian. Today we're talking about form in piano. It is very, very important. It's going to help you overcome all your technical difficulties and learn all the difficult things much, much easier than you would with poor form. So what is form in general for piano? Form in piano is how you position your body as you play piano. Now, good form. How do I define what good form is? Good form is being very selective with where you place your body in piano. Wherever you place different regions of your body, let's say your elbow, your wrist, that's going to give you an advantage to play what you want to play. Now, luckily for you, I have come up with the best form for you to play piano for all your pieces. This would be your standard form, your foundational form. You're going to learn this really, really well. It's going to help improve your piano much better. But Brian, what about this technique? What about that technique? Silly. All those techniques will add on top of this standard form. Those are your specialized techniques. Some examples would be something like the drop and lift. Those are your specialized techniques. They're going to build on top of this standard form. To learn this, I'm going to break it down in this video into 5 regions of the body so it's easy to learn. And make sure to like and subscribe too. There's 3 things you got to make sure you're doing for your fingers. First of all, only the tip of your fingers can make contact with the piano keys. The tip of the fingers refers to the center of the swirly part, how you take your fingerprint, up towards your nails. That is the tip of your finger. Using just this part minimalizes the surface area that contacts between your finger and the keys. Minimalizing surface area makes sure that your playing is much more accurate, more precise. I relate it back to typing on your keyboards. You're not going to type with a fat finger on there because that's going to end up punching multiple keys at the same time, multiple letters. You don't want that. You play with just the tip, you're more accurate. You can choose exactly where your finger goes onto the notes. Second thing, talking about the joints now. You want your finger to be rounded at all times. This rounding gives your fingers strength and control over your playing. Let's say you want to hit something, but your finger also bends at the same time. You're going to lose control and strength like that. Why? Let's compare it to a hammer. If you were to strike a nail with a hammer and the hammer bends in the middle as you're striking it, that's not a great hammer, right? You can't aim at the nail that well, and you're also going to lose strength too. The force is going to dissipate. Same thing for piano. As you're striking, you don't want your fingers to bend back. Keep that rounding. That makes sure your finger is solid and sturdy. You see, with this rounding, it doesn't have to be so rounded the whole time. As long as it stays rounded, then that's fine. You don't want to see any arcs or any movement from these 2 joints as you're striking the keys. Now this kind of brings me to the third point. And my point 3 being, when you are striking a note, the only joint in your finger that can move is the knuckles. The knuckles lifts the finger and strikes down, meaning you have to keep this rounding in your fingers. So knuckle gives the clearance of the finger up, and pressing down, it's all in the knuckle. To make it easy for the knuckles, in your hand positioning, make sure that your knuckles are relaxed. How do you make sure your knuckles are relaxed? Just by looking at it, you can tell. Look at your second and your third fingers, so your index and your middle finger. If your knuckles have a divot in it, it means that you're pressing down with your wrist too, using your muscles. Using your muscles will create muscle tension as you play, which will reduce your endurance for your playing and also muscle strain. Instead, it should look angled up, pointed. This means your muscles are relaxed. Just try this out. If you're pushing your knuckles down, so there's a divot, how high you can lift from your fingers is much less than if your knuckles are relaxed. You get a much higher lift, which is very important in your strength and clearing your notes as you play. To summarize, fingers, playing on the fingertips, keep it rounded, keep your knuckles relaxed, pointed. That's it. Next one, let's go. Wrist positioning. The left side of your wrist should be in line with the second knuckle, your index finger knuckle. The best way to check this, check the right form for wrist, just let your arms drop by your side. Wherever your wrist is right now, completely relaxed, keep it there, lift your hand up, and then put it on the piano. That's the perfect position for your wrist. Letting it hang by your side is where your wrist is most natural. As you put it on the piano, your wrist is going to be in the most comfortable state. That's how it normally rests, making it easier for your wrist to be relaxed as you play the piano, which is very important for the wrist. Now, to go over why we go through this positioning, including the relaxed state I just talked about, we'll go through a bit of human physiology. Let's say instead of putting your wrist in that nice position I just talked about, you let it drop down and low. Dropping it down and low while keeping your fingers on the keys will put your muscles, your finger flexors, on stretch. Putting it on stretch means that you can't lift your fingers as high as you normally would. And as I said previously, it's not as good for your strength and control as you're playing through that. Putting it on stretch like that makes your finger go through a weaker range of motion. In the same way that, let's give a shopping example. You're trying to curl up your shopping groceries. Bring your groceries up from down the bottom to slightly higher is the hardest section. And the final curl up, that's pretty easy. That's your range of motion. Putting your muscle on that stretch brings your finger through that hard range of motion. Now, relaxing your wrist, you're in your strong range of motion there. Your muscles aren't stretched, and now you just got strength in your fingers to play all your hard things you want to play. That's it for the wrist. Recap, keep the left side of your wrist in line with your second knuckle, and you should be good for your wrist. Keep it relaxed. You're dropping it by your side. Next one. Your elbow should be placed slightly in front of your body and your forearm parallel with the ground. Your elbow positioning determines how you sit on the piano, how far away you sit from the piano, and how high you sit. Your elbow is responsible for all the big movements on the piano. Keeping it slightly in front of your body lets you scale up and down the piano freely, allows you to go deeper into the keys, more shallow into the keys. It allows you to reach down the keys quickly with lots of range to move down. In comparison to if your arms are straighter, much less room that way. I don't think I need a recap for the elbow. It's kind of short. Let's move on to the next one, which is also very short. The shoulder doesn't play a big role in playing the piano. All it essentially does is just follow the elbow around. However, whatever happens in the shoulder affects everything that happens below it, so your elbow, wrist, fingers. If your shoulder starts shrugging up, moving around as you're playing, then your elbows and the rest have to compensate by adjusting to wherever this is being positioned, which makes things much harder for yourself to do. So your shoulders should stay relaxed and unshrugged. That is your technique for your shoulders. Let's move on to the final one. Legs. What do the legs do? I don't like training legs, but you should do legs in piano. Legs are important to keeping you upright and balanced as you're playing. Keep it planted on the ground. An example for this is when you're scaling up and down the piano. Your legs are actively pushing down to keep your body upright. Just like any other sport, if you're actively moving up top, the base needs to stay stable so you have control over what you're doing. The legs determine how much of the stool you use to sit on. When you're sitting on the stool, you don't want any part of your thigh to be on the stool, only your bum. This gives your leg room to move around, which makes it easier to pedal. That is it for this video on the form for piano. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I try to keep it very concise, very clear, tell you why you should do it and exactly how it should look. Follow this, learn it well, and your progress will be astronomical. That's it. Like it, subscribe it. I think I already just said that. What else do I say? Oh, you guys like the new lights in the background? I thought it gives it like a nice warm vibe to the video. I played Nocturne for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed that. Simmering in the background. That is it. Hope you guys have a good rest of your evening, day, night. Good night or good day, and goodbye.